Hey guys, Huzzy here bringing you the second video of the day. Apologies, there's no gameplay, so if you want to just watch me on camera, that's fine. If you want to minimize and watch something else while listening, that's also fine. Some people have said I should probably do a podcast, and I might down the line, because that would be kind of enjoyable. But today's extra video is going to be a league discussion, but done a little bit differently. It's basically a hybrid between a league discussion and a Q&A video. So I wanted to do a second video of the day, and I wanted to do a league discussion, and I was like, I don't really have a good topic. So I do have one topic that I have, which I will talk about, which is the original topic, but then I was like, that would only take a couple minutes, you know, that's probably not worth uploading. So then I had the idea of, okay, I'll go on the Discord server and see if anybody else has topics they want me to talk about, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to talk about my original topic that I had, and then we're going to talk about people's topics that they've posted on Discord. No idea how long this video will go, maybe 10-15 minutes, roughly. Yeah, if you guys enjoy this type of league discussion, that it's not all just about one topic, it's about several in the same video, let me know by liking the video, commenting down below. If you've got any questions or discussions you want me to do in the future, also leave that down there. And also you can answer these questions yourself and have your own opinion, and that's the point of the discussion. Anyway, let's first begin. So the first topic that I had myself that I was going to make a video on, but then it wasn't going to last, you know, over a couple minutes, was in my commentaries, when I do them, occasionally I will say something on the lines of, oh, you can't really compare professional play and SoloQ, and that's why, you know, this type of thing. And I never really have explained the point, because obviously in a commentary I can't really do full explanations because I'm trying to focus on the game. So I thought I'd explain it a little bit here. So why is it that you can't compare the two? Well, the first big thing is that obviously it's in a different environment. In SoloQ, you're most of the time, obviously you could be duo queue, but most of the time you're with 4 random people with no communication. It's a lot different that comparing to having a 5-man pre-made with full communication, a coaching staff, and everything built around the comp that they're building. So something like, say, Lucian mid, that in the past I've said I don't really rate that very highly. Someone usually counters, oh, but Faker played it or something in LCK. And that's the point, is that when they play something like that, they are picking it for a very specific reason, that they have spent weeks, the coaching staff has spent weeks trying to perfect a perfect comp around, like, working out stuff. You're not doing that in SoloQ. Or people are going to protect you more. You have communication. If you're mucking up, then people can kind of counter that. There's a lot going on in the background of what's going to help you in a competitive environment that it just doesn't exist in SoloQ. So that's just the first point. Another thing I want to say, just comparing SoloQ to professional play, is if you are looking at professional play and you see something that you're like, oh, I want to play that, be very careful with just kind of taking that, like, carbon copy of that and just playing it. Make sure you know why they're building items that they are. Make sure you know what you're kind of doing before you just do it, because then you may not be getting the most strength out of the build. I've seen it actually several times myself, especially when I do smurfing series, of, like, someone rushes a Lichbane, if they've seen someone do, like, a Lichbane rush Viger build or something like that, and then they're not auto-attacking. It's like, well, they don't really know why the person's building Lichbane. They haven't looked into it themselves. So that's just another thing, is that make sure if you are looking at, like, oh, that pro is playing something that looks fun, I'm going to play it, make sure you know why they're building the items that they are. Everything has a reason, you just got to know why the reason. And again, sometimes I've seen people, like, take carbon copies of, like, an LCS game or a Worlds game, and it just doesn't suit the match. It's like they're building armor, and there's not armor people that they need, or there's not armor that they need magic resist, but they saw a pro do that build, so they're doing that build. So that's just fairly obvious. And then the final thing is it can go both ways. I've seen some people in the comments over the years kind of go, I'm a Riven player, why don't we see, like, she's amazing, why don't we see Riven in pro play, or this champion, that champion? And again, it goes the other way. Some champions are just good for SoloQ, some champions are good for pro play, and they don't really intertwine. And that's a number of things. You know, SoloQ is more solo orientated, that you as an individual can actually shine a little bit more than people can in pro play. And in pro play, something like a Riven would get shut down completely. So that's kind of the basics of it. So that's just the very, you know, basic point of why I kind of wanted to make that little point of, you know, comparing professional play to SoloQ is not something you can do all the time. You can do it a little bit, but make sure you kind of know the strengths and weaknesses of the champion, and you have to make sure that you're like, okay, if I'm playing this in like a weird position or something like that, it's, you know, you don't have a whole team to back up your mistakes or back up your weaknesses if you're in an off role on a champion, because your team isn't building a team comp around you. But in professional play, they are building team comps around themselves. So there's that. Okay, so let's now go and get some discussion topics from the Discord. So the first one is from Neko Sam, and his is just briefly, again, we're going to go very brief. This is kind of like a quick fire league discussion. Riot's approach to becoming a more casual game. Well, funny enough that, again, I'm recording this the day it's actually getting released. On the front page of the League of Legends subreddit right now, there is a post going, I hope that League is not becoming more RNG. I've been saying this for years, literally. You know, you could probably go back 2 years, watch some of my videos, and actually having this point. Is that, unfortunately, it does seem, or very much seem, that the general design of League of Legends is becoming more casual orientated, which isn't necessarily a terrible thing, but I don't think it's a good thing. Again, the post kind of mentions everything that I have. RNG makes the game more casual, which means for the broader audience it's probably better, because you don't have to rely on skill as much, because there's just random things going on that sometimes go in your favor, sometimes don't go in your favor, so skill is less dependent. That's okay, I guess, for casual players, but for professionals, for high rating people, that's one of the most frustrating things that you can have, is taking the less skill out of the game and adding random elements. And it's the integrity of competitive play that I'm a little bit concerned at, not just for professionals, because it does seem a bit weird to me that there's going to be RNG in professional play, you know, that's a bit weird. But also in just high rating, in, you know, Challenger, Master, High Diamond, it's kind of like, you know, this is where the high skill of the game should be meaning the most, but then one random RNG element could just ruin the game for you. There's, you know, some of the runes have RNG in them, you know, Klepto, you know, all the way back with dragons. You know, if you get 3 infernal dragons in a row and you're doing well in the early game, guess what? You're probably going to snowball. It's stuff like that. It's just adding kind of more casually random elements to a game where I don't think it was really needed. You know, I've said before, League of Legends was built on being quite a hardcore game, and a lot of people go, oh, but Dota's, you know, more hardcore. Dota is hardcore, but I'd say Dota is probably a bit too hardcore with creep denying and stuff like that. I think League, when it was growing in Season 2 and Season 3, was the perfect balance of being kind of, let's say, casual and hardcore. And they're now moving more towards casual than hardcore. So that's a little bit concerning. Next one is, oh, thanks for the question as well, from Cronax. Is it punishable, or should it be punishable, rather, for having a bad computer or internet? So this is a delicate line, because I'm sure there's some of my audience right now that are on a bad computer or internet, and I just want to point out very, very quickly, again, if you haven't watched my video that I might have done about a year ago, that I talked about my computer history, when I was first computer gaming, you know, I was a console gamer, and then when I started computer gaming, I was on a laptop that was terrible, that was held together with sellotape. Like, I've been there, and I had terrible internet, so I have been there, I know what it's like. Should it be actually punishable? No. The punishment in itself is you're probably just not going to be very good at the game. Some people obviously blame a little bit too much on hardware, but it's definitely a thing. You know, if you lag out every single team fight, you go to 2 frames per second, how can you expect to get high rating? You can't. So the punishment, I think, comes with, like, being not very good at the game and probably just being low rated if you've got bad tech. If you've got bad internet, bad hardware, I think the punishment is the rating that you're probably going to end up with anyway. What I'd suggest for people who are in those situations is just be patient. You know, a year or two, it may seem like a long time, but in reality, for a League of Legends, it's not that long. Wait a year, wait 2 years if you really need to, until you get into ranked. Play normals, get good at the game that way, and then get into ranked when you've got that good computer, when you've got that good internet. And again, you've got to work for it. Again, if you haven't watched my internet or my computing history video, because a lot of people go, oh yeah, but I can't get a computer. I, as like a 14, 15-year-old, literally sold every possession that I owned to get my first computer. I wanted it that much. You know, all my really rare Yu-Gi-Oh card collection, Pokemon card collection, I've got it back now because fortunately I can. But I sold it back then to get all that stuff. And it's what you got to do. So, yeah. Next one is Nerf Every Champ, please. Is saying, talk about the recent EU and NA player switches. So this is talking a little bit again about professional play. The problem that you have is while you're seeing so many European people go to North America, it's money. You know, again, a lot of people don't like to talk about money, but it's a very real reality. And when you're talking about the NA LCS is probably worth more than 10 times the European LCS now, it's not surprising. You know, when you're looking at it, European LCS for the past year has been struggling to get over 100,000 views on like their good games. Like their best teams struggle to get around 100,000 views. When you look at the Tyler 1 Invitational, the final got 200,000 views, beating the European LCS across the board of every game. You know you've got a problem with the LCS, and that's only been made worse by the North American LCS going into franchise mode. So if you're not very read up or caught up, or you don't know people in the industry, there's millions of dollars being thrown at NALCS. There are players that have literally been put on $1 million contracts now in the NALCS. And I can probably say, you know, speculating, but I probably have a better guess than most people, being kind of more in and like being a part of an organization and stuff in the past. I'd say the average North American player, salaried per year, average is probably on about 200,000 now, roughly. And I'd say average. There are some that are on like those $1 million contracts, and there are some probably on lower, but probably about average is about 200,000, I'd say, maybe higher. European LCS 30 to 40. You know, how can you compete? You know, what person in Europe would not want to go to North American for that money? Like, it's ridiculous. Again, right now, and it does look like it's going to change, but being a pro in League always used to be like, get rich quick or you're probably going to get screwed, because you give up your education to become a LoL pro, and if you don't become a really successful streamer like PewDiePie, what are you going to do? You've given up your education, your only work experience is playing video games. It's hard, and there's a lot of pros that have just gone back to school, where now, these salaries, people might, you know, start making this their actual proper career and having very good success with it. You know, being a caster is obviously a good direction for a lot of ex-pros. But yeah, it's not surprising. So the only way that Europe can kind of keep up is, one, they need the money. So Europe probably has to get into franchising as well. They need that injection of money to kind of get things rolling. And two, they need to do something about the view numbers. The view numbers are really bad. Like, you watch a ULCS, it's got 40,000 views on the main stream. And obviously Europe has like a few numbers of streams in different languages, but it doesn't add up to like over 100,000. And that's your pro league. So it's a bit worrying for Europe. They got to do something to get those views. But yeah. Next one, and we're probably going to do two more. Bialop. Why is there so much toxicity towards others in League of Legends? Why is it such a toxic game? There's a couple reasons for this. So, one, it's an anonymous game. It's the internet. The internet is a toxic place wherever you look. You look in Twitch chats, YouTube comment section, Reddit forums, wherever you are, you're probably going to see some form of toxicity, because there's that anonymous... you know, people don't know who I am. I can be a little bit edgy on the internet. I think I'm cool because I'm toxic. There's a lot of that going on. But why specifically League of Legends? Well, when you actually look at the game type that we play, which is actually called a MOBA, you know, League of Legends is a MOBA, Dota's a MOBA, Hon, Heroes, all of them are actually fairly toxic games. The reason why, it's been spoken about for years, obviously, but the reason I believe, or the biggest reason, is because you're investing a very large amount of time into a game that you don't have full control on. If you're in StarCraft, and you're in a 1v1 in StarCraft 2, it's less ragey, because if you make the mistake, that's it. You only can blame yourself. In League of Legends, you're investing half an hour, 40 minutes into a game, and your AD carry could just go lose you the game. It's that simple. Like, that's annoying. And to some people that have that little bit of just anger issue in them, it comes out. It comes out really easy, because they feel that they've, you know, wasted their time. They could have won the game. And, you know, maybe a little bit of bad social skills and stuff like that. It adds into being toxic. And it's just the way that MOBAs are. It's a high amount of time you're investing into not much control of the game. Especially that now League of Legends is moving to more team-orientated. Again, I've said it time and time again, Season 3 was the best season in League of Legends, because you as an individual could make the biggest difference. They're going away from that. They're going into much team-focused stuff, which some people don't like. But that's probably why it's toxic, pretty much. So yeah. Next one is from Amulus99. Basically, it's an argument between more mechanical champions like Zoe and Azir, or more simple ones like Annie and Maokai, which are better for the game. It's not really an argument that will have a conclusion, because both are good for the game. You need both. Does a non-mechanical champion like Annie or Yi or Tryndamere, are they bad for the game? No, because you need them. The reason why you need them is because you have a different player base. Not every single player base wants to play something mechanical. Not every person in the player base can play something mechanical. So you give people options. Now, the one argument that I've seen time and time again is, if, should, in theory then, a less mechanical champion be inherently weaker? Should they, on purpose, make less mechanical champions weaker because they're easier to play? And that is a more interesting argument. You need both. So that's the end of that argument. You need both non-mechanical champions and mechanical champions. That's 100% yes. But should non-mechanical champions, so just to rattle off a few, so, Tryndamere, Master Yi, Annie, Maokai, like you said, there's probably got a handful more. Should they be weaker because they're easier to play, therefore enticing people to try and get more mechanical? That's an interesting argument, and I would definitely want to hear you guys' opinion down below. My opinion on it, I think it partially already is like that, because when you watch people who are good at the game, right? You watch challenger streams or pro play, whatever, the really crazy players usually always come from one of the crazy mechanical players in League of Legends. Like, it always happens, When the Tyler 1 Championship, I was watching the final, Shipta made an amazing Azir play. Like, incredible. It was like game 1, and he went behind people and got 5-man ultimate. It looked fantastic, and it won them the team fight. If he was on Annie, he couldn't have done that. Sure, you can tip as a couple people, but he wouldn't have been able to do that whole sweeping motion to get all 5 of them. If he was on any of the other non-mechanical champions, he wouldn't be able to do that. So I think that's where it comes in. It's that they're not inherently weaker, they just have less options open to them because they just have less mechanics. It's that simple. But a champion with more mechanics has probably more options available to them of how to play the champion than a champion that is just very basic and straightforward. Like, there's only one way to play Tryndamere, there's only one way to play Annie, that's just the way it is. But Azir, there's so many more ways to play. You can come from the side, you can stream a shuffle. It's crazy amounts of stuff that you can do. So again, I'd want to hear you guys' opinion on that, and if you've got any more discussions, leave them down below. If you guys did enjoy this type of league discussion, throw a like on the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.